Guys, what if you have prepared a trial balance and it's not balancing? Because what we have studied up till now is, if the trial balance balances, only then you can go on preparing the financial statements. What if you have tried your level best but the trial balance is not balancing? So we've got a question here where trial balance is not balancing. What to do? What is the way ahead? Guys, I'm the commerce specialist. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you'll find content relating to various academic qualification and professional certification, including life-changing business concepts and ideas. So today's video is based on suspense accounts. If you have made a trial balance, it's not balancing, what to do? I've got a trial balance here already prepared, but when you total them, the debit and the credit side is not the same. It's not balancing, which means if the trial balance is not balancing, we cannot go ahead preparing financial statements. The statement of comprehensive income, the statement of financial position, which you call income statement and balance sheet. So this is a critical point. If trial balance cannot balance, we cannot go ahead. So now we've got to do something. So if you notice, if I total the debit side, it's coming to 160,000. The debit side is coming to, if I total this up, it's coming to 160,000. But when I total the credit side, actually the total is coming to just 125. Now we understand debit and credit should be the same in trial balance. That's why we call it trial balance. Try to see if it's balancing, but it's not. So what we do now, for time being, we need to go ahead. The difference of 160 of the debit side and credit side is, the total is 125. The difference is 35. This 35 I'm going to put as suspense. Suspense. Whichever side is lower, I put suspense at the lower side, which is 35,000. As a result, it balances now 160. This is what we do. If the trial balance fails to agree, we find the difference between debit and credit, and the difference on the lower side would go as suspense account. But this in no way means that we don't try our level best to see if there is any omission, anything we are missing out. But the assumption is we have tried our level best, but the trial balance is not balancing. So we cannot waste any further time. What to do? Find the difference, put suspense at the lower side. And you know, it's very common. If you ask your parents, the elders, especially the ladies in your house, sometimes the earring or the ring is missing. They try the level best, they cannot find it. So what they do is, they just cool down, they let it go. After a day or two, you're doing something else and you find that. This is exactly what happens in the world of accounting. Sometimes you try your level best, the trial balance does not balance. Alright, just have patience, cool down. After a few days, things will automatically unfold. You will come across, you will discover some errors which you were not able to at the time of preparing trial balance. So here I've given some errors which were discovered subsequently. Number one, it says purchases were understated by 15,000. Now, purchases were understated means that only purchases were recorded less. You need to know the double entry, as I already told you. First of all, your prerequisite is you need to know the 7 errors. Even if they are there, trial balance still balances. Now when the trial balance is not balancing and you had to put suspense, that means we are not talking about those 7 errors. These are different errors which are to be corrected through suspense account. So if we are doing those 7 errors, I have a video on that. The 7 errors of accounting or correction of errors. So watch that. Those errors does not require suspense account, because even those errors are there, trial balance still balances. Problem is trial balance was not balancing. The difference was 35,000 shortage on the credit side. So I put suspense just to temporarily balance. Now, if you look at the first error we came across, which we could not earlier, it says purchases were understated by 15. Means purchases was recorded less by 15. So you need to know the double entry. Guys, I have 2 videos on basic accounting, journal entries, rules of debit and credit and all those. Please watch them. The link of my 2 videos are in the description below. Please watch them. So this topic will become super easy for you. Coming back to the first error, purchases were understated by 15,000. That means they were recorded less. What to do? So what we have to do is, look at this. If purchases were understated or undercasted, means casting is a totaling error. So you recorded it less, you posted it less. So now you have to increase purchases. So if it's only about purchases, yes, we will debit purchases. We debit purchases by 15,000. Now they're only talking about purchases, nothing else. So you cannot have a transaction just a debit and not a credit, because there is an accounting rule. We call it the dual aspect, principle of double entry. To every debit there is an equal opposite credit. So you cannot have a debit and not a credit. So now if you are only debiting purchases, you have nothing to credit, just credit suspense. How much? 15,000. So it says purchases were undercasted by 15, was recorded less, was total less. So you increase purchase. Increase in cost is a debit. We debit purchases. What to credit? If nothing is there, put suspense. Number 2. The second error we came across. Now it says sales was understated by 20,000. Please understand, sales is a revenue account. It's understated, means you have to increase. Increase in revenue, increase in income is a credit. So to increase sales, I have to credit sales. By how much? 20,000. So I cannot have a credit and no debit. We have to have double entry. So according to the error which was discovered, it says sales were understated by 20,000. Was recorded less, so we have to increase sales. Increase in sales, increase in income. As per the rule, it's a credit. So I credited sales. What to debit? Suspense. Suspense or suspense account you can debit. Number 3. Now this is interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Have a look at this. It says credit sales of 10,000 was only recorded in the sales day book, but not posted to the receivables control account. What does this mean? This means an entry was like this. For example, I'm on number 3. The right entry was like this: account receivable debit, sales credit, 10,000. You know what? The error made was you only recorded credit sales, 10,000, and you didn't debit anything. So what should be the correction? Credit sales of 10,000 was only recorded in the sales day book. In sales day book, you only record credit sales. So you have recorded only credit sales. You forgot to debit account receivable. So if you look at both the entries, the correct entry says account receivable debit, sales credit. What you did is you only recorded sales, not the receivable. So what is not recorded, I'm going to record it now. I'm going to debit account receivable control account or account receivable. How much? 10,000. I'm not going to credit sales. Why? Because sales was credited. It was recorded, but receivable was not recorded. So out of the debit and credit, only one account was recorded. Sales was recorded, receivables were not. So I recorded receivable. Now what to credit? If I cannot find anything, put suspense. 10,000. Entry number 4. Again, something like this. Entry number 4. It says credit purchases was not posted to the accounts payable control account. Please understand, when you purchase goods on credit, the double entry is like this. You debit purchases and you credit accounts payable. With the amount given is 40,000. You know what happened? Credit purchases were not posted to the accounts payable. That means you debit purchases by 40,000, but you never credited accounts payable. So you recorded half of the transaction. Instead of debiting purchases in account, crediting accounts payable, you only debited purchases, you never credited accounts payable. So now I'm going to credit accounts payable which was not credited. I'm going to credit accounts payable which was not credited. I'm not going to debit purchases because it was even in the wrong entry, purchases was debited. Half of the transaction was recorded. So now what to do? I can't leave it like this. I have to have a debit. What to debit? Suspense. 40,000. Entry number 5 is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch my video on correction of errors, the 7 types of errors, I spoke about this one. It says cash purchases of 7,000 was omitted. Omitted means not recorded at all. So if it was not recorded, that means neither the debit nor the credit was recorded. So the correction for this is one of those 7 errors. And if you have this error, it will not have an effect on the trial balance agreement, the balancing. Because if there is an omission, debit and credit both are not recorded. So if nothing is recorded, trial balance, it will not have the effect on the agreement of trial balance. That's why, remember, the 7 errors which I have discussed in my previous video, those errors does not cause the trial balance to be imbalancing, does not affect the trial balance agreement. And this is one of those errors. We call it error of omission. Error of omission doesn't have an effect on suspense account. Coming to the last one, sales made to G. Powell was recorded in the accounts of G. Power, 12,000. What type of error it is? You're messing with personal names. We call it error of commission. Even if error of commission is done, your trial balance still balances. But here the trial balance never balances. Which means if it is one of those 7 errors, when you correct them, suspense account will not be disturbed. So sales made to G. Powell, if I explain it here, if you look at this, it says sales made to G. Powell. The correct entry was like this: account receivable G. Powell, double L, and sales credit 12,000. But you recorded it as account receivable G. Power, ER, and credited sales 12,000. So you were supposed to debit account receivable G. Powell, but you debited G. Power. So the correction would be, as you already know, we are going to debit account receivable G. Powell and credit account receivable G. Power, 12,000. So suspense is not involved. Assuming these are the only errors which we could not discover when we were preparing trial balance and we had to put suspense account. Now what to do in the end? We need to ensure, have we discovered and corrected all the errors? What to do? Prepare a suspense T account. So guys, I'm preparing a suspense T account here. Suspense account. If you look at the trial balance, suspense has a credit balance. So I'm going to put a brought down balance of 35,000, which I got from the trial balance. Had it been here, I would have taken a debit balance. It's a credit balance. Now let's post the entries. Entry number 1, suspense is credited with 15. So I'm writing here entry number 1, suspense is credited with 15,000. Entry number 2, suspense is debited with 20. So entry number 2, suspense is debited with 20,000. Entry number 3, suspense is again a credit of 10. Entry number 3, suspense is a credit of 10. Entry number 4, suspense is debit with 40. Entry number 4, suspense is debit with 40. Entry number 5 and 6 doesn't have suspense. Now what? Very important step. Check the debit. This is 60. Check the credit, the total, 35, 40, 50, 60. If both sides are equal, there is no balance. That means all errors have been corrected and identified suspense account doesn't have the balance because the credit side is 60, the debit side is 60. In the T account of suspense, the debit and the credit are the same. That means all errors have been discovered. Now what to do? You have to adjust the figures here. For example, look at the first entry. I debited purchases, 15. So in this purchases, I'm going to add 15,000 and I credited suspense. In this suspense, I will add 15. Likewise, in the second one, I debited suspense and credit sales. Crediting sales means sales is already a credit here. So I will add 20,000 to this 50,000. And I debited suspense, it's a credit balance, I will minus. So once you do all these adjustments with this trial balance here, this balance will be eliminated and the trial balance with the new amount. You can try it out yourself. Suspense account is so very important to understand because in practical accounting, many a times due to work pressure or XYZ reasons, when you're making a trial balance, you are unable to balance. And it's a kind of very disturbing, annoying, irritating, and sometimes upsetting. Trial balance you cannot balance, and there are strict deadlines. You have to prepare financial statements. What to do? Make sure you have tried your best. Still, if you cannot balance the trial balance, total the debit and the credit. Let's say the debit side is coming 100,000, the credit is 95. This 5,000 you cannot find. Just put it as a suspense on the lower side. Once you put it, trial balance will be balanced. You go on. Later on, slowly and gradually, things will unfold. You will discover errors. As you discover errors, keep giving the entries through suspense. Make sure the error is not among the 7 errors which does not affect trial balance agreement. Anything else would be adjusted through suspense account. Note of caution. If you put something in suspense account, that would not remain suspense for life. Accountants have to try their level best to get rid of this suspense balance, no matter how small it is. If it is very small, that becomes immaterial, but still, we have to make sure that the suspense account doesn't remain a suspense forever. We had to get rid of the suspense account, bring it to zero balance, no carry down, brought down. This is how it is done. So guys, if you have liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please don't forget to share this video with your friend and family members so that others can also benefit. If you have any queries relating to suspense account errors, please put your comments. I will respond to them. Thank you so very much for your precious time.